Let me welcome the author. Well, she's got a bunch of books, but this one is the new book. This is the new book. Get Good with Money. It's substantial too, y'all. Welcome back to the show. The one and only Tiffany Aliche. Welcome, Budgetnista.
Thank you so much, Karen. I'm so excited. I'm excited to be here all the time, but especially on this Good Tuesday.
Yes, you better say it. Okay. This is 1, 2, 3. This is very simple. For anybody can pick this up and get your whole life together. Yep. Because the goal here, and this is what I really love about you. I love this about you. I love this about Terry Egioma. I love it about Angela E. Matthews and even Chris Hogan and people who come through, is that you have a love for wanting people to get it.
Yes.
This is not just about, Tiffany's selling, because I've been on, I'm on YouTube a lot. Now, there's a lot of people selling a lot of things, Tiffany Aliche, and they don't give a damn about you. They care about themselves. So they're going to give you some trashy ass books and some take my course and you ain't going to learn nothing. And they get rich. I say this all the time about Robert Kiyosaki. I won't do it. Not today, but I'm telling the truth. But I notice about you because I know the success stories, right? There's so many people whose lives have been complete. And we're talking about regular women, people who have children, who are single moms, who are teaching, who are, used to work in schools as lunch ladies, who are driving a bus or the train. Like there are people whose lives have been put on a course to be successful and financially secure because of your advice. So what did you put in this book that we can't get on the Budgetnista, on your Facebook group, on all of the million other places where you give away information? What is in this book?
I added additional information because I started to get worried. I'm like, all right, because as you know, Karen, I do give a lot away for free on purpose. Before I was Budgetnista, I was a preschool teacher in Newark, New Jersey, trying to make sure these babies got what they needed in order to succeed throughout the rest of their educational life. And so I'm still preschool teacher Tiffany, but I have now taken my desire to teach you the fundamentals from preschool to your personal finances. That is what Get Good with Money, 10 Simple Steps to Becoming Financially Whole is all about. Financial wholeness is about these fundamentals. Now, I know my specialty when it comes to teaching fundamentals, but what I don't do is fake the funk, as his kids used to say, right? So I brought in, when there were things that were not my expertise, I brought in folks that I call my Budgetnista boosters, people that were helping me with getting my insurance straight, people that were helping me with my estate plan. I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm one on TV. People that were helping me with investing to the next level for both retirement and for wealth. People that were helping me learn to earn outside of your normal day-to-day 9-to-5, 7-to-3 job. So what makes this book special is, in addition to the foundational financial things that I bring to the table, I brought in other experts to say, hey, these are the 10 components of what I believe to be financial wholeness, the financial foundation you need to build the rest of your life on. But this is not my expertise. Can you pour into me so I can pour into the reader? And so that's what makes it different. I want to see people succeed. I don't think people understand just how much I care about us, about our people, but I see how much we've struggled. And I said, there has to be a better way. And I even chastised myself as a teacher, like, Tiffany, you're teaching, but in these silos, people got good credit, but they're not saving. They're saving with your savings challenge, but they're not investing. They're investing, but they're not budgeting. And I said, have you ever put something together holistically so someone could start from the rooter to the tutor, right? and achieve financially?
The community part of it, which is what we have been, Drew and I were talking about, how hard we are on one another, how it's kind of been ingrained in us to be hard on one another, how we have to be so pristine, and then we jump on each other. But the community is how we get there, because that's how we have always, before the 400-year experiment, failed experiment, debaucherous experiment here in America, community is how, we traded, we bartered, we worked together. And this is how we got there. So the notion that you went out and found people to help is so who we are, and that nobody gets here by ourselves. Drew always talks about his board of directors, which I love. Before he makes decisions, he goes to his council of elders, and some not even older, but people who are wise, to ask, what should I be doing? And in this book, at every turn, you start with the beginning.
Yes.
Before we begin, get to know financial wholeness. So you start with how our minds are, how we're supposed to be perceiving this. And it's so weird. You could be the smartest person in the world, because that, I'm going to give a shout out to Kiyosaki right now, because when he talks about his brilliant father, who was an educator, a professor, PhD, who was horrible with money. And then he had the other father, his stepdad, who wasn't educated, but knew money and was, focused on money and became wildly rich. He was setting the framework, because there are a lot of people out there who are so smart.
Yes.
But this is not about whether you're intelligent and you can read well and whether you have letters. This is a mind frame and a focus, and there's a drumbeat to this. So walk us through this book.
So the 10 steps for financial wholeness are budgeting, then savings, then debt, then credit, then learning to earn. That's the first layer of the foundation. Next layer of the foundation, we dive a little deeper, investing for both retirement and wealth, your insurance, net worth, your financial professionals, because you have to have someone else on the team besides you, and estate planning. That's the next level. So those are the 10 components of financial wholeness. And the teacher in me said, how do I teach all this in a way that doesn't make you overwhelmed? So what I do is, there is a framework that we're taught. I have my master's in education, and it's called Plan, Do, Review. And so I split each of the chapters, each of these steps into that. So the plan lets you know, this is what you've been to learn in this chapter. Okay, Karen, you're going to learn this about budgeting. You're going to learn this about estate planning, because it sets the tone. So you as an adult can prepare yourself and say, okay, then the do is the actual work. Okay, Karen, step 1, step 2, step 3, this is how you estate plan. And here's some homework sprinkled in between so we could check for understanding. Because I'm not just here, this is not a novel. You're here to transform. To teach is to transform. And the review is basically a mirror of the plan. Did you get what you're supposed to get? Do you know how the components of your budget or your estate plan or learning to earn? Are you good to go? Now let's move on to the next thing. So that is the way the book is laid out. And already tens of thousands of people have bought this book. It's honestly blown me away. And I've been holding my breath, because as a teacher, I know how to teach, but you don't know if the student is receiving it. So the reactions thus far, the comments, people are like, I never knew a financial book could be a page turner. That it's part, like I was interviewed by The Root, and the sisters there were like, girl, this is part memoir because I share my story. So, me too. This is part guide because it shows you step by step how to get to where you're getting to. And this is part self-help, because it really does. I don't want, especially women I don't want, especially, like I said, women to feel like if they don't have their money together, it's a capability issue. It's likely a confidence issue. And I want to pump you full of confidence, because it's not just about you. That if you are better and get good with your money, it means that pours over into your family, it pours over into your community, your neighborhood, and us at large. I want us all to collectively move forward. So if I get you primed and ready, then I can pass you off to a Terry Ijeoma. Like she and I, that's my girl. We actually have a call tomorrow, right? I can pass you off to her, because what I don't want you to do is, you want to trade options, but you ain't got a budget. Oh, okay. Because what happens, right? And when that happens, Andrew, is that if you do that, then when the going gets rough and you experience some financial trauma and drama, everything crumbles. Yeah. You have to have that foundation. It's like not learning to read when you're younger. Now, can you kind of fudge your way through as an adult? We have seen that. But when the going gets tough and you're really asked to really read something, what are you going to do then? I am here to provide you with the best foundation possible so you can soar into the rest of your financial life. And that's what Get Good with Money provides.
Tiffany, one of the things that I love about the way that you present information and the way that you talk is that the fact that you do tell your story, because because part of what Karen was saying earlier is that, you can be smart, you can be a really smart person and not be good with money. You can also be a high earner. You could be a person who makes a lot of money, but you're horrible with money. I was talking to my niece the other day, because she and I have money conversations now.
Good.
I got her a book, and we got a deal going where if she saves a certain amount of money, I'll match it. So we talk about money all the time, how she can get me to up my match, which I'm thinking, like, I didn't do this for you to test out your negotiation skills.
She's doing good though. That is good money.
I was like, this ain't about you negotiating more money out of me. This is supposed to be about us having uncle niece bonding. But one of the things that I said to her was, I started making decent money really young. And I was one of those people in my mid-20s that was making six figures, but wasn't saving a dime, right? Like, I didn't really get my financial life together in terms of saving money and really thinking about money aside from whatever the financial person at work said to me, like, oh, add to your 401k, until I was in my 30s. And I had made decent money, but I didn't understand money at all. And I'm still learning about money now.
And you will continue to. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, Andrew, because what we see in the financial industry is this push toward financial freedom, which is not a bad thing. Obviously, who doesn't want to not work anymore? Right. But it's an incomplete story, because I had reached financial freedom and was still a whole financial mess. I had reached financial freedom in that I'd set aside enough, I had invested enough, I had put up enough that if I didn't want to work anymore, not that I would live some lavish lifestyle, but I could technically not have to work anymore. And yet I was underinsured. So one bad accident could have wiped me out. And yet I didn't have an estate plan. So if I was to pass away, my whole family would be like, it would just been like craziness.
Chaos.
Exactly. And so that's when it had me realizing that, like, is financial freedom enough? It's not. That's why I came up with financial wholeness, because I want you to holistically achieve your financial goals. Because if you do so, you don't have to, it doesn't matter how much you make. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. I had achieved financial wholeness in my early 20s, messed up in my mid 20s, and was a hot mess in my 30s, making more than I was in my early 20s. It is possible that someone makes less than you, but is still financially whole and you're not. I'll give you an example, right? So Karen, so let's talk about like estate planning, right? So 21-year-old Tiffany, no kids, no home, no nothing. Estate planning for that Tiffany was putting my mama on my bank account as a beneficiary. Sis, you good. You know, that's an estate plan for a 21-year-old. 41-year-old Tiffany, that's all I had. And it's like, that's not estate planning for 41-year-old Tiffany. I need a will. I need a trust. I also needed, so what happens to my business if I'm no longer here? I needed some sort of plan for that. And so financial wholeness matures as you mature. So it's really a book that you check back in with to say, oh, insurance looks different. I met with my certified financial planner, Anjali, right? And so Anjali was like, sis, you insured like you 27. I said, that's when I got that insurance. She said, yeah, I could tell. Right? Because she's like, this is not enough. Your life, if something were to happen, this little bit of insurance that you got in your 20s is not enough to cover your 40-year-old life. And so that's what I want to like shake our people up to see, that like, it's not enough to just chase this pile of money. You don't even really need that. If you achieve financial wholeness, then you will be good at every level and stage of life.
You don't have to save $1 million to live well, right?
Yes.
Like, so Tiffany, how do we do a better job of talking about money with each other, right? Like, I feel like we are so secretive about money, and we have all of this pride and ego and shame tied up with money. I literally have friends that I can talk about money openly and freely with, who make less and who make more, right? But then there are other folks that it's like, that's off limits, right? Because I don't want you to know where I am in this whole thing. But I feel like we could get freer faster if we could share information.
So one of the best ways to do, because the reason why those friends are likely not talking to about money is because they're steeped in shame.
Yeah.
They've likely made some sort of mistake that they have convinced themselves, because shame is a liar. Shame doesn't say, Andrew, Karen, you made a mistake. Shame says you are a mistake. Yeah. And so shame has you say, it will tell you to live in secret, to live in quiet, to keep those things to yourself, that nobody can know that, these things are happening. But the only antidote to shame is voice. You have to tell someone. And one of the ways that I kind of break down those barriers is I come, just like in the book, I share my shame first.
Yeah.
That like, so you might say, Andrew, with your friend, like, I'm struggling right now. I'm kind of messed up. I told myself I was going to run up my credit card, but here I am again, and not even say, what about you? Just leaving it out there. Like, but I'm working through it. This is my plan. And your friend might be like, okay. But as you share, you create a safe environment that your friend is like, well, Andrew's not going to judge me because he just told me last week he went through the same thing. And so that is how you get your friends and your family to begin to share with you, by you share first and create a non-judgmental, empathetic environment where they have the grace and the space to grow financially.